It's amazing when a super high grade copy of a Golden Age comic turns up. We're all impressed and so happy they survive. But there's something even more interesting that could possibly happen. What if multiple copies have survived? So today we're going to count down the 20 earliest comics that have 10 or more copies graded 9.0 or higher. This list is unbelievable that this amount has survived, especially for comics that are 84 years or older. Oldest comic on the list is Funny Pictures Story Supplement number 1, 1937 from Comics Magazine. Now, this is interesting. These must have been warehouse finds because you can see we've got over 20 copies of this graded by CGC. And next on our list is issue number 11, and we've also got 11 copies. And issue number 12, you can see we've also got about 15 copies, all graded super high. Now, these would have been handed out in Funny Picture Stories comics from Comics Magazine in 1937. So these were supplements. So these would have had to have survived probably by somebody keeping them in a file somewhere. Jumping to 1940, we get our first true comic where just by pure fluke, we have a number of random copies that have survived in just amazing condition. And we have Human Torch number 3, better known as number 2, from winter 1940, Timely Comics. This is one of the first Marvel comics ever published. We've got a Submariner story, Hitler appearance. There's 2 full-page ads for Captain America number 1 in this issue. There's 80 copies graded by CGC, but there are 10 that actually grade 9.0 or higher. And we have another timely comic that year that a bunch have survived. Marvel Mystery Comics number 12, dated October 1940 from Timely. This is the last cover featuring Angel. We've got Bill Everett, Paul Gustafson, and Carl Burgos stories. And we've even got Jack Kirby art in this issue. 51 copies graded in total, but there are 10 that have survived 9.0 or higher. Now we come into 1941 and we get our oldest DC comics that make the list. We've got Batman number 5, spring 1941. We got a Joker appearance, first appearance of Linda Page, and the bat emblem was left off Batman's chest here. We got Bill Finger working on this issue, and there's 255 copies graded, one of the highest quantity graded Golden Age comics that there is. Key early Batman, and believe it or not, there are 11 copies grading 9.0 or higher. There's even a 9.6. And the next issue, Batman number 6, August 1941 from DC, we have the first appearance and death of the Clockmaker with text story by Gardner Fox and Bill Finger's story. Bob Kane art, 289 copies graded, and 13 copies graded 9.0 or higher, including one 9.6. Well, next we get our oldest Superman comics graded 9.0 or higher in this quantity. Superman number 8 from January 1941, full page ad for All Star Comics. Number 3, we've got Jerry Siegel's story and Joe Shuster art, and a Fred Ray cover. There are 11 copies graded 9.0 or higher, 193 total graded. We've also got Superman number 11, July 1941. There's a half-page ad for All Flash Quarterly, Jerry Siegel's story, Fred Ray cover, 238 graded. There are 13 copies graded 9.0 or higher. All-Star Comics number 6, September 1941, DC. Johnny Thunder joins the Justice Society of America. Dr. Midnight is in a text story, and the Flash becomes an honorary member. There's 119 copies only graded, but by miracle, we've got 12 high-grade copies. All-Star Comics number 7, October 1941, DC Comics. It's the first time Superman and Batman appear together in a story ever. Full page ad for Green Lantern number 1. Only 102 copies graded. This book is tough to find in any grade, but believe it or not, there are 10 high-grade copies existing. Detective Comics number 54, August 1941, DC. There's an ad for All Flash Comics number 1. We've got Bill Finger and Jerry Siegel's stories. Only 105 copies graded in total, but there are 10 high-grade copies. Daredevil Battles Hitler, #1, July 1941, from Lev Gleason Publications. One of the most iconic Golden Age comics of them all, and you can see why people saved a bunch of these, but it is pretty scarce. There's only 79 copies in total graded by CGC, and yet, believe it or not, 13 high-grade copies have survived. It's Daredevil Battles the Claw and Adolf Hitler, and this comic came out just as America was entering World War II. And the title would become Daredevil Comics. Silver Streak also appears in this key issue. Now, next on our list is something kind of odd with CGC. We have Mighty Midget Comics #11. But in fact, the census says 223 copies graded and over 130 copies that are 9.0 or higher. The only problem with the CGC listings for Mighty Midget Comics #11 is that it's actually 6 different comics. You can see completely different covers, different characters, in fact, but they're all numbered at #11 as Mighty Midget Comics. So I'm going to show you all the covers of them all here. So for some reason, CGC has combined them all. But even if you divide that out, that should average out to about 20 high-grade copies per issue. We don't know the exact numbers because, again, CGC bulked them all together. But this would be our first massive high-grade lot of each of these covers. Next, we have 4 color comics. #9, August 1942, Dell Publishing. Donald Duck finds his pirate gold. This is a very historic comic. It's the first Carl Burke's Donald Duck. We got also Huey, Dewey, and Louie appearances in this issue. There are 158 copies graded, and there are 11 high-grade copies. Captain Marvel Adventures #10, May 1942, from Fawcett Publications. We've got Otto Binder and Al Lederman stories here. C.C. Beck cover and art. Only 50 copies graded in total, but we have 10 high-grade copies. Captain Marvel Adventures 13, July 1942, Fawcett. Spy Smasher and Buck Jones have cameos, and there is a Captain Marvel centerfold pinup, Al Lederman story and art in this issue. Only 54 copies graded, but there are 11 high-grade copies surviving. Captain Marvel Adventures 14, August 1942, Fawcett, Binder, Lederman, and Swayze stories. And we've got C.C. Beck art, 80 copies graded, including 11 high-grade copies. And we've got Adventures of Superman. This is a no-number promotional giveaway comic from DC, tied in with the Pi Copay tooth powder. Now, there are only 13 copies graded. This is extremely rare, but again, there has to have been a file warehouse find on these, because 11 copies are graded 9.0 or higher, including 2 9.8s. Unbelievable. And finally, we have Ibis the Invincible #1, January 1943, from Fawcett Publications. It features the origin of Ibis. We've got Otto Binder and Dave Berg stories and a Mac Raboy cover. 61 copies graded, and there are 11 high-grade copies, 9.0 or higher. So there you go, the 20 earliest comics that have 10 or more copies graded 9.0. It's quite an interesting list. These are comics all between 1937 and 42. Of course, after that, it becomes a little bit more common. Of course, Batman and Superman are usually the most highest graded 40s comics, so there are a lot more of those. We're eventually going to have Wonder Woman, Detective Comics, and a whole bunch of spin-offs as the 40s continue. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this list. It was a lot of fun putting this together so we'd find out something that nobody knew before. Thanks for watching.